Hey, it's so good to be back. First of all, I just want to say thank you. I know I've been away for a little while, and that's because life happened. I had personal and technical challenges, so I wasn't able to show up the way I wanted to, and I'm really sorry about that. But I'm here now, and I'm so happy we're having this conversation again. If this is your first time listening, welcome. This is Monica Lomel, and this is Care Before Crisis, a space where we have honest conversation about mental health prevention and Christian living. It's no pressure, no judgment, just real conversation that help us take better care of ourselves before life becomes overwhelming. So, let's talk. In our last episode, we talked about what mental health is. And today, I want us to talk about something many people have heard about but don't really understand: mental health problems. Now, don't switch off just yet. I know you might be thinking, I'm okay, and this isn't really for me, and etc. But what if I told you that this conversation is for all of us? Not because something is wrong with us, but because understanding mental health helps us to understand ourselves. And sometimes it also helps us to understand the people we love too. Let's start with a very simple question: what is a mental health problem? So, what exactly is a mental health problem? Well, let me start by saying this. Just because you're having a bad day doesn't mean you have a mental health problem. Just because you are stressed doesn't mean something is wrong with you. Just because you are feeling sad doesn't automatically mean you are depressed. The truth is, we all experience difficult emotions, difficult moments. We all have days we feel overwhelmed. We worry, we all get frustrated, we cry sometimes, and that's all part of being a human being. A mental health problem is different. It's when the way you think, feel, or behave starts to affect your everyday life. It begins to affect your work, your studies, your relationships, your sleep, or even your ability to enjoy the things you once used to love doing. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine two students both wrote a test and failed. They failed the same exam. The first student is disappointed. The person cries, they feel discouraged for a few days, and with time, they get back up and then they make a new study plan and prepare for the next exam. Now, the second student also failed the same exam, but weeks later, they are still struggling. They start going to class, they avoid their friends, they lose motivation, and they begin to believe that they will never succeed. Can you see the difference? Both students experience disappointment. They both fail the test. But one person's struggle began to affect their daily life. They start affecting everything they do on a daily basis. And that's what we need to pay attention to. Here is something I really want you to remember. Mental health problems usually don't begin with a crisis. They often begin very quietly with they begin with stress we ignore, with emotions we try to push aside, with struggles we convince ourselves will go away with time. But that's the reason why awareness is important. Because the earlier we notice that something isn't right, the sooner we can do something about it. And that's why we have care before crisis. That's what care before crisis is all about. Not waiting until life becomes to feel overwhelming, but learning to care for ourselves before we reach to that exact point. So now that we know what a mental health problem is, let's talk about a few of the most common ones. And before we begin, I want to say something important. The purpose of this conversation isn't for you to diagnose yourself or someone else. It's simply to help you understand. Because the more we understand, the better we can recognize when someone may be in need of our support, including ourselves. So, let's start with anxiety. We've all worried about something before. Maybe it was an exam or job interview, money, or an important decision. That's completely normal. But anxiety is different. Imagine waking up every morning feeling worried, even when nothing is actually wrong. Your mind keeps thinking about everything that could go wrong. You struggle to relax, you struggle to sleep, and even when people tell you everything will be okay, your mind won't just believe it. That's more than our everyday worry. Is called anxiety. The next one is depression. Depression is more than feeling sad. We all have moments when life disappoints us. Maybe you didn't get the opportunity you were hoping for. Maybe a relationship ended, or maybe you lost someone you loved. Feeling sad in those moments is completely normal. But when those feelings don't go away, when you lose interest in the things you used to love and enjoy before, when getting out of bed feels like a whole struggle, that's when it's important to pay attention. Another mental health problem that many young people experience is burnout. Maybe you are trying to balance school, work, church, family responsibilities, and you are trying to build your future. At first, you will tell yourself, "Oh, I can do all of this." But after a while, you you feel tired all the time. You can't concentrate. Even simple tasks feel so heavy for you to complete. And that isn't laziness. It is what we call burnout. We are literally burnout. And finally, there is trauma. Trauma is the emotional impact of a very painful and frightening experience. And it could be losing someone you love, growing up in a very difficult home, being in an accident, or going through something that changed your life. Two persons can go through the same exact experience and respond differently. For example, imagine two children growing up in the same home. They see the same things, hear the same words, and go through the same exact experiences. Years later, one seems to be very okay and coping with life well, while the other continues to struggle emotionally. Does that mean one person is weak? No. It simply reminds us that trauma affects each person differently. That's why we should never compare people's pain or tell someone you should be over it by now, or others have gone through worse. Everyone's story is different, very different. Everyone feels things, everyone feels things differently, and that's why kindness, patience, and understanding matters so much. So, now that we've talked about mental health problems, you might be wondering, what can I do to protect my mental health? And I'm glad you asked. Because here's the beautiful thing, right? Mental health isn't something you only think about when life starts to fall apart or when life is about to fall apart. It's something we take care of every single day of our life. Just like you brush your teeth to prevent cavities or eat healthy food to take care of our bodies, we also need daily habits to take care of our minds. And no, they don't have to be big things, right? Sometimes it's the small things we do consistently that help to make bigger difference in our life. Maybe it's getting enough rest, taking a break when you are feeling overwhelmed, talking to someone you trust instead of keeping everything inside, um, spending time with people who make you feel safe, setting healthy boundaries, and taking a walk, reading a book, doing this, praying, or simply giving yourself permission to slow down. Yeah, those little moments matter more than we often realize. And another thing I want us to remember is this: you don't have to wait until you're completely overwhelmed before asking for help. Sometimes we think asking for help means we are weak and we have failed. But it's not true, right? Asking for help is a sign that you are you are taking care of yourself. And that's something you should be very, very proud of. But some of us listening today may also be carrying a very heavy burden. Maybe you are feeling exhausted, maybe you are struggling in silence, maybe you are smiling on the outside, but inside you are finding it very hard to keep going. If that's you, I just want you to know this. You are not alone, right? And there is hope. Please don't carry everything by yourself. Try to reach out to people you trust. Talk to someone. Let people walk this journey with you, because healing often begins when we stop suffering in silence. As care before crisis, we believe that prevention is powerful. The earlier you notice the sign, the earlier we have to ask for help. We have better chance of preventing struggles that might become serious crises in the future. God says you should cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. First Peter 5 verse 7. And I love this verse because it reminds us that God doesn't only care about our spiritual lives, he cares about our hearts, our thoughts, our emotions, our worries, and nothing is too small to bring to him, right? So today, whatever you are carrying, give it to God. And if you need support, don't be afraid to reach out to someone He has placed in your life to talk to. Even though I didn't invite you to color with me, but see what you created. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I hope today's conversation helped you understand mental health problem a little better. If it did, please share this episode with someone you care about. You never know who might need to hear it. But until next time, take care of yourself. That's so important. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and remember the goal isn't simply to recover from crisis. Let's care before crisis. Until next time, God bless you, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.